The story begins with the fact that the heroine felt terrible pain in a dream. Opening her eyes after this horror, she learned that she had become the mother of a healthy girl, and she was welcomed with a new stage in life. The woman found herself in the body of the heroine of the book during childbirth. The most ridiculous thing is that she does not know from whom she gave birth and nothing at all. Now she is forced to find out which of the four men is the father of the child. In her sleep, she experienced hellish pain. It seemed to her that she had won the lottery for the most terrible night terror. But when she woke up, they began to call her a princess and congratulate her on the birth of a daughter. The girl was stunned by the realism of the dream, but when she looked in the mirror, she did not see her reflection. When they heard her name, Etrija, it seemed strangely familiar to her. The girl realized that she had heard him in the novel. Princess Etrija appeared in her memory, a rich woman with power, but with a terrible character. Becoming Princess Etrija, the girl noticed the opportunity to do whatever she wanted because her character was a villain. The plot of the novel was also not too good. Everyone in her harem was weird. The girl called her work terrible in every sense, finding herself in it as a heroine. The maid guessed about complications after childbirth, noticing that the lady was in a stupor, and decided to call the doctor. The heroine's father returned the girl from heaven to earth. He wondered who the father of his daughter's child was, and then the girl realized that she had become a mother. It was a real shock for her. She could not believe that something like this was possible. In her past life, she was almost not interested in this novel, so she knows little. Then, it seems, she got into a car accident, but still the girl still cannot accept the fact that she found herself in the body of the heroine of the novel. She will not even feel pain after childbirth, although she was given painkillers. Despite the nightly cries, during the day her rescuer comes to support her. The girl still cannot realize that she is now a mother. However, what is important now is that she did not even have time to get married. And here she doesn't even know her husband's name. She did not sign up for this, and in a state of affect began to beat her head on the table. The maid asked the princess to stop and to hit her better. The girl did not expect that there was someone in the room all this time, and therefore she was quite frightened. The maid, named Belle, confessed that His Highness had told her to watch over the princess. She begged Etrija to pretend she wasn't here, but not to kick her out. The girl said that she would not expel the maid, but she should get up from her knees. She, in the body of the princess, tried to remember at least some details that would help her, but there are so many potential candidates that it is simply impossible to narrow down the circle of suspects. New Etrija asked the maids whether she does not know, with which men the princess managed to spend time. However, there were so many of them that the maid herself did not have time to remember. Etrija ordered the maid to make a list of all her guests and fulfill the request as soon as possible. The woman happily accepted the assignment and promised the princess that she would keep it a secret. Etrija didn't even notice how time had passed until the nanny brought the baby. A memory popped into his head. In a past life, his nephew, seeing her for the first time, cried non-stop. Etrija, holding the child in her arms, tried to figure out who the father was. Instead, the child could not stop crying, and all attempts to calm him down were in vain. Maid Belle returned, and Etrija immediately handed her daughter over to her. Suddenly, the princess noticed that her child did not cry at all with other people. Belle worried that something was wrong with her mistress. Etrija replied that she felt as if she would go to another world, and her father forbade her to go outside. The maid indicated that she would take the child to a nanny so that the princess could rest. Belle also added that it would take more time than she thought to fulfill Etrija's request. Belle didn't expect it to be so difficult. Etrija assured that since her father did not allow to slander even a word about what happened, she had a lot of time to search for her father. The maid noted that the princess had received several letters and handed them to her. The girl was happy because she thought that they were most likely sent by Etrija's friends, or perhaps by someone she knew. The first letter was from Ivan Damon, in which he stated that he would try to end the war as soon as possible and visit Etrija. After all, she understands how it will not be easy for her when the imperial family finds out about everything. The girl was amazed that he even found out about the child, given that the father of the princess forbade talking about it. The next letter was from Hassel. The man was outraged that Princess Etrija did not personally announce the birth of the child. He promised to visit her soon as they needed to talk and asked her not to resist. The girl asked the maid what kind of man he was. Belle replied that it was a knight from the imperial court and asked if something had happened. Atresia began to remember something. The third letter came from Killian, the head of the magic tower. He was also surprised by the news of the birth of a child. Killian had no idea that the princess was pregnant, but he longed for a meeting, hoping that their connection was more than just a one-night stand. The fourth and final letter was from Louie the dragon. He wondered if it was his child, because this is an incredibly significant event for him, and therefore he will come to it as soon as possible. Louis asked not to run away, because they needed to talk. The girl, looking at the names of all these men, immediately remembered who they were. All these people are the most crazy husbands of the main character in this novel. The crown prince of another country, as well as a man bent on wars, Damon, the duke's heir, and also a skilled knight, Hassel, the emotionless leader of the dragons, Louie, and finally, the head of the magic tower and master thief, Killian. Thanks to the letters, the girl finally remembered something. She assumed that the men didn't want it to come out because they were so nervous. Although now one problem has become less. Atresia assured Belle that the list no longer made sense, as there was no need for it. The maid asked with interest if there was one among the authors who would become the husband of the princess. The girl thought about the fact that she has 4 candidates, and now she does not know how to find out which of them is the father. As far as she knows, the princess's reputation has already been tarnished, and the choice becomes even more difficult. Atresia has earned the reputation of a villain. Belle asked the princess what it was like to be a mother, because Atresia was very much waiting for her child. The maid thinks that this baby is incredibly beautiful and did not think that such a charming girl would be born. The girl in Atresia's body was shocked by Belle's words. It was strange for her to realize that Princess Atresia was waiting with trepidation for the little one. However, the girl felt absolute indifference to him because she did not want to give birth to this child. The girl asked the maid what she thought made Atresia leave the baby after a night with one of the men. Belle believes that the princess just fell head over heels in love. She still remembers Atresia's eyes in love. The girl asked Belle which of the 4 Princess Atresia loved. The maid gloomily replied that she could not help because she did not know this information. New Atresia said that there is nothing wrong with this, since the emperor himself does not know who the father is. She didn't understand how she could get into such shit. The main problem is that now all this has fallen on the one who is in the body of the princess. The reason why the girl tried to find the father of the child is because Atresia did not plan to give birth on her own. Unlike a girl who does not feel a mother's love, a child can find support from his father. Meanwhile, the girl is convinced that her days in this world are coming to an end. New Atresia assumed that the girl was calm with others, but she began to cry endlessly when she was not around. Belle tearfully handed the child to the princess, as she was looking for her mother. Because of this, the girl had to put the child to sleep in her room. Atresia watched the girl and realized that she was her exact copy. The princess wondered what made the child smile so brightly. Belle informed the princess that His Highness wished to see her. Atresia said that if she left the baby in the room, it would cry again. The maid suggested that it would be better if the princess took the child with her. The girl had a strange feeling, as if the girl really understood her words. Atresia came to the father, who was about to shout at his daughter, but changed his mind when he saw his granddaughter. The emperor looked at the child with fascination and was surprised that she was getting cuter every day. He asked Atresia why his granddaughter still doesn't have a name. The girl replied that she did not know how to call her better. However, in reality, the girl did not give the child a name because she did not recognize that she should do so, although she does not know if she will ever be able to return. But he will not lose hope that he will be able to return to his world. The emperor pronounced Rustina. This name combines 2 words, angel and graceful, and when combined, they mean angelic love. The girl assumed that her daughter liked it. Atresia asked her father if he was angry with her for not naming the child. His Highness replied that she would understand him later, when she herself had grandchildren. The emperor asked if Atresia remembered who the girl's father was. He noted that there is one proven method, thanks to which it will be easier to find out about the real father. Atresia was worried, because she noticed that the baby was about to cry. Her eyes were already wet. The emperor tried to prevent his granddaughter from crying, but all his efforts were in vain. The princess turned to her father, saying that he would hardly be able to calm the girl, and therefore asked him to give her into her hands. She also asked to tell about the method I mentioned earlier, but the emperor was not eager to speak when his granddaughter was tearing up her throat. Atresia realized that it was useless to ask him about the method until she calmed the child down. She saw no other way out than to go into the room as quickly as possible to calm the child down. But she asked her father to continue this topic next time. Atresia wondered why the girl was crying, because she had already brought her to her father before. She looked at the child, and although she knew that she would not answer, she wondered if she also wanted to find her father. Atresia really wanted the girl to have a father. She promised Rustina that she would definitely find her dad. However, after these words, the child started crying, and the girl assumed that Rustina did not want to find her father. Over time, when Rustina turned 2, small but positive changes took place. The girl began to sleep longer, and now Atresia felt much better. The girl in Atresia's body noticed that when the child sleeps, it looks like an angel. And it also seemed to her that Rustina was very similar to Atresia. Suddenly she smelled blood, and that someone was outside the window. Atresia was horrified, but held back her emotions. Suddenly, a man appeared nearby and hugged the princess. She declared that Damon is a real madman because he appeared so unexpectedly. He emphasized that it was quite difficult to find Atresia. The princess was angry because Rustina woke up because of this scoundrel, and now she was ready to strangle Damon without hesitation. Atresia asked why he came in through the window at night, and what's more, woke the child. She told Damon to take off his dirty clothes and go wash up while she tried to calm the baby down. Damon began to undress right in front of Atresia, which quite confused the girl. She asked him why he was standing like that, and looking at her like a ram at a new gate, and told him to go wash himself quickly. The girl asked if Damon was as slow during the war. The man just smiled and immediately asked if it was his child. Atresia shared her doubts and asked if Damon was really sure of his paternity, and if the girl had anything in common with him. Ivan Damon is convinced that if a child is cute, then she definitely looks like him in some way. This once again proved to the girl that the man is very narcissistic. Damon took the girl in his arms and noticed that she was so small that she looked like she was about to break with one wrong move. And that's why he asked Atresia to take the child. The princess said with a wicked smile, "If this is Damon's daughter, then at least let him hug her and hold her longer." In the meantime, she will observe whether they have similar features. However, Rustina only burst into tears in her husband's arms. Damon noticed that the girl is very strange, and it is necessary to calm her down, but he does not know how to do it. When asked by Atresia why he came here, the man replied that he wanted to know if it was his child. The girl turned away from Damon and told him to leave, because the little one didn't like it. Damon took Atresia by the hand and promised that he would find out the truth and find out if Rustina is his daughter. And that's why he added that he's not saying goodbye, because they'll see each other later. Atresia said she hoped next time he wouldn't get through the window, and especially not covered in blood. Before leaving, Damon said that Atresia was as beautiful as ever. The nanny noted that Rustina still sleeps so well today, so she hopes that she has the most pleasant dreams. Atresia noted what it cost her just to put the child to sleep. Belle was worried about the color of the lady's face, so she offered to look after Rustina while Atresia rested. The princess thanked her and said she would take a walk in the garden and get some fresh air. When Atresia stepped out into the courtyard, she immediately noticed that there was someone in the garden, although entry to the imperial palace was forbidden. A strange feeling of déjà vu came over her. The man was so excited to meet the princess that tears of joy rolled from his eyes. He asked if Rustina was his daughter. Atresia thought that she couldn't just rest, because her heart stopped when that amazing handsome man appeared in front of her. But she should pull herself together. The princess told Hassel to stop crying. The man apologized because he was so happy when he saw Atresia. The princess asked Hassel why he considered himself Rustina's father. Hassel admitted that there is true love between them and the princess. However, Atresia doubts his paternity, despite their tender feelings. The man was upset because he knew that the princess did not want him to be the father of her child. After all, a miserable knight like him cannot even think of becoming the father of a young princess. But even if this is true, Hassel dreams of what Atresia has allowed him to observe from afar. The girl assumed that this man really loved Atresia. She noted that there was a chance that Hassel could be Rustina's father. However, she asked him to stop complaining like that, because she doesn't want her supposed father to destroy himself like that. Hassel declared that he would do everything in his power to carry out his princess's order. Atresia thought about the words, because why did he leave her if his feelings were so strong? The man noted that they did not part, because the princess is always in his heart. Atresia suddenly shouted at Hassel and forbade him to make such a cute expression. After all, the next time Atricia's heart won't be able to stand the sight of a man. She said goodbye to the knight and hurried to Rustina, who must have woken up and is waiting for her mother. Hassel thought at the mention of the princess's daughter's name. Atricia added that she would invite her husband next time, but for now he should leave. Hassel was pleasantly surprised by the princess's words. She added that she needed to do something, because she really wanted to know if the knight was Rustina's father. Although she doesn't care which one of the four they are. The conversation between the two was interrupted by a voice calling for Atricia. The princess apologized and said that she had to go. Hassel worriedly said that he could help her in case of anything. Belle interjects, noting that she went for a walk with Rustina after she started crying endlessly. Although at first the girl smiled happily. When Belle saw Atricia with Hassel, she turned the cradle in their direction so that the girl could see her mother. But for some reason, Rustina suddenly started crying. Atricia had already doubted the incredible beauty of the night, but voiced to the nanny only the assumption that the child was hungry. Belle denied that Rustina had thrown away the water bottle and that the diapers were clean. It seemed to the nanny that the child was looking for his mother. She thought she would die if she did not bring the girl to the princess. Atricia reassured Belle, saying that it was nothing to worry about, and everything was fine. The princess looked into the cradle and made sure that Rustina felt safe. Then she returned to Hassel and offered to see the boy, but on the condition that he would not tell anyone. Hassel looked at Rustina admiringly. The girl did not shed a tear, so Atricia assumed that the girl had seen such a handsome young man for the first time. The girl also thought that Hassel could be the father because the child behaves quite quietly. But suddenly Rustina began to cry, which made Atricia take back her assumption. Hassel asked to give Rustina to him so that he could try to calm her down. Atricia was surprised that such a young man knew how to handle a child. The princess wondered if by any chance he had no other children, or if he was married. Hassel was outraged by such words of the princess, because his heart belongs only to her. Atricia assured that this was only her assumption, because the boy managed to calm the child down. The knight noted that this was probably due to the fact that he used to often take care of his little nephew. He remarked that the girl was extremely charming. Atricia worried that Hassel would be there again, not to burst into tears due to a flurry of emotions. The boy apologized and said that he tried to hold back his tears, but he had no control over them. Atricia said that she had to calm Rustina herself, so it would be better if she left. The princess added that the girl has been very sensitive lately, and Hassel himself needs to leave. In order not to upset the boy, she said that she would call him again closer to the morning. Atricia tried to avoid her father and worried that if he called her because of Rustina's crying, then the princess would be out of luck. She wanted to take the child away from here as soon as possible because she was sure that the father had heard. At that moment, the father looked out the window and angrily called his daughter. He wondered who this man was next to her. Atricia explained that this was their family's night. She invited the boy to watch over them while they were walking in the garden. The princess did not like the look with which her father looked at her. She assured him that she would come to him now. His Highness ordered Hassel to get away, or else he would call the guards, but they would lead him out on foot. Atricia did not want to leave Rustina alone because her father loves her granddaughter very much. In this case, the princess hoped that thanks to the girl, His Highness would calm down his anger at least a little. Atricia asked her father why he called her. His Highness wanted to tell his daughter about the way he had talked about earlier. When the child turns 2 years old, you can conduct a check with the help of a magic regent. The fact that you have to wait 2 years did not impress Atricia too much. In this world, there is a magical regent that can be used to establish paternity. This tool is similar to a DNA test. The princess thinks that this is not the most intelligent method of finding a father. She asked if His Highness planned to apply this strategy to all men. Atricia's father replied that there was no need for this. Surprised, the girl said that they just need to find out who the father is. His Highness suggested not to rush ahead yet. However, the father added that they would need to return to this conversation later, as sooner or later he wanted to have a feast. Due to Atricia's condition, they had to postpone the banquet, but the princess came to her senses, so His Highness thinks that it is quite worth organizing a holiday. The girl remembered that it was really because of Atricia's condition that they had to postpone the banquet that was planned to be held after the birth. The girl asked her father if he planned to present Rustina at the banquet. His Highness replied that he was only thinking about it. Atresia noticed that Rustina really likes her grandfather. The girl always shines with happiness when she is with her grandfather. However, Atresia noticed that Rustina often cries next to her, but this is quite normal, because she is only a baby. The father noted that the children's room has already been built, so Atresia can put the child there. And if he had known that the princess would be so happy about it, he would have ordered to arrange it earlier. Atresia stated with joy that she would finally have the opportunity to sleep separately from her daughter. She was fascinated by the room and immediately felt that a lot of money had been invested in it. The girl showed Rustina the room and hoped that the girl would like it, because in the future she would sleep here. The child smiled joyfully, so Atresia assumed that her expectations had come true. Atresia thought about the banquet and thought about her reputation in society. She was afraid that the society's not-too-good attitude towards the princess could harm Rustina. The princess was happy to meet the nanny, who brought her the opportunity to relax with a cup of tea. However, thoughts of the banquet exhausted her, as if her head was about to explode. Atresia was tired to death. When the nursery was built, she began to sleep separately from Rustina. And last night she heard a loud noise. She couldn't tell if she heard it or not. Atresia decided to stay awake and stay on guard. Fortunately, the night passed peacefully. But suddenly, a frightened maid came running, urging the princess to go with her. Atresia asked her father why there was so much noise in the palace. His Highness replied that he was expecting an explanation from his daughter as to what was happening here. The princess was confused, because she herself did not understand anything. The dragon arrived in Atresia as promised, and brought the hearts of eternity. The princess remembered that the man's name was Louie, and was surprised that he was a pink dragon. After all, she expected that he would be scarier in the guise of a dragon. Louis noticed that the princess was not happy to see him. Atresia used to like the color pink and their intimacy, so he didn't understand what had changed now. Atresia silenced the dragon before he could utter another inappropriate word, and asked what he had brought with him. Louis assured that hearts are good for maintaining health. The dragon found them with difficulty for the sake of the princess, and therefore insisted that she must eat them all. Atresia shouted at Louis because he had terrified people with his appearance and asked to take the hearts back. Louis said that the princess can do whatever she wants with the gift if she wants to eat it, but if she doesn't, she throws it away. He was surprised to hear from the lips of the princess that she was troubled by miserable people. Atresia thought Louis would arrive in secret, but instead he made a lot of noise. It seemed to the dragon that the princess was talking nonsense, because why did he have to come to her secretly? Atresia decided to confess to the dragon that she had no idea who the father of her child was. Louis was aware that she had many other men besides him. However, he was sure that the princess liked it better, because Atresia herself told her little Pinky that. The princess was amazed and asked when they had time to blurt it out to him. His Highness was outraged by what was happening. Atresia assured her father that the dragon's words were nothing but nonsense, but His Highness said he would continue this conversation with her inside. The princess told Louis to take the hearts with him and leave, and later she would invite him back to the palace. The dragon wondered why he couldn't go into the palace now and wait for her in the room. Atresia said firmly that Louis had no right to stay and had to leave. The dragon promised not to take the hearts, because now the princess has them. He deliberately sought and collected them to present to the princess. The princess watched as the dragon flew away and emphasized that the pink color looks quite beautiful. The father was not happy that his daughter had time to be in bed with a dragon. Atresia assured her that things were not as they seemed, for she had no idea that Louis would decide to make such a fuss. His Highness noted that dragons are capricious and narcissistic creatures. Dragons love to collect shiny things, like crows, and, unlike humans, lack empathy. His Highness is sure that he brought those hearts to brag about how cool he is. Atresia believes that Louis is not the father of her child. His Highness added that he would silence those who witnessed the incident, but he hopes that this will not happen again in the future. Given the new circumstances, His Highness decided to hold a banquet to introduce Rustina to her coming of age. Atresia, surprised, asked her father if he really wanted this holiday so much. The girl mentioned that there was one more problematic candidate left, namely, the villain of this novel and the owner of the magic tower and the enemy. His Highness does not know that Killian is Rustina's potential father. Killian is a villain and the owner of the magic tower who has been sharpening his teeth on the imperial family for a long time. and that's why Atresia is sure that he should not be crossed off the list because he can also be the father of the child. The father kept looking at his daughter, feeling that she had something important to say. Atresia was silent, but the burden of increasingly complex problems was growing in her thoughts. The girl thought that the villains were just having fun and enjoying life. However, in reality, everything turned out to be not so fabulous. Atresia also needs to deal with political affairs. Fortunately, the princess's body remembers everything that her mistress did before that. Atresia was sorting through the papers and noticed that she had missed something. As it turned out, all lands in the south will be transferred to Rustina's possession. When Atresia's daughter turned 1, she got her own name. When she is 2 years old, she will inherit a mine in the north. Seraver's assistant asked the princess if she had any difficulties. However, after receiving the documents from Atresia, he noted that no errors were found, and everything that was in the papers would be inherited by Rustina. Last night, when Atresia heard her daughter's cry, the grandfather was already taking care of her granddaughter. Therefore, the girl decided to pretend that she did not see this. Atresia asked the assistant if all those possessions were for little Rustina. Dvor confirmed, but also noted that the princess herself would receive something valuable. The princess asked what Dvor meant. The man was surprised that Atresia did not know, so he decided to explain everything to her. Several months ago, His Highness left the palace suddenly, and he has not returned until now. He left the palace with a bundle of precious stones and gold. Until now, Atresia's father is the master of all the lands. Moreover, the place of the empress is empty. The princess wondered how the previous emperor could do such a thing. Dvor was worried that he had done something wrong because Atresia suddenly began to turn on him. It scared him every time she did it. The princess assured that she simply did not notice. Recently, she immersed herself in work. Therefore, she assumed that she had changed a lot. Dvor confirmed that the princess had indeed changed. The man asked Atresia about the upcoming banquet. The princess remembered that she had to deal with it. She wants to prove to Vera that she can handle it all. The father was not jokingly surprised that his daughter was going to arrange a modest feast. He believes that a golden table and golden bowls would perfectly fit into the interior of the banquet. Instead, Atresia thinks that what she organized is normal. After all, ordinary people will participate there, so I am sure that there is no need to do everything so extravagantly. His Highness noted that it was extremely unusual for him to hear such words from the lips of his daughter. Atresia assured her father that people would always find something to discuss. She does not want Rustina to be the subject of discussions. Atresia asked her father to trust her this time. Dvor was quite shocked. The princess was happy with the reaction of the assistant, because he definitely did not expect that Atresia was able to get approval. The princess was happy that she was able to convince her father, and she didn't care what happened next. However, she forgot the most important thing, to send the letters to Louie and Killian. She told Killian if he wanted to say anything to send a letter. Atresia hopes he won't barge into her room with all sorts of little things. She added that he would be able to arrive at the palace tomorrow at the specified time without delay. She wrote to Louie not to bring a gift, and not even to dream of spending the night. The princess is sure that she wrote her wishes clearly enough, and she hopes that she was able to convey to the men everything she wanted. Atresia told Belle to get the letters directly into the hands of the recipients. The princess also asked the maid to bring a cup of tea on the way back. At this time, the nanny entered the room and brought a crying Rustina. The nanny assumed that the child missed his mother. Atresia assured Belle that she would take care of Rustina, and she could rest until then. The princess was enjoying the breeze until Hassel disturbed her. She was quite struck by the boy's appearance that she was speechless. After regaining her composure, the princess asked why Hassel had come to see her. She also noticed that Rustina behaved much quieter than usual and assumed that her daughter might have remembered the guest. Hassel awkwardly replied that he had brought tea for the princess. Atresia noticed that the boy was in such a hurry that he stuttered, despite the fact that he is not a knight, but his manners are very refined. The princess emphasized that Lord Hassel should go. Assuring that everything was under control, he only wanted to help. Atresia noted that Rustina is a rather sensitive child. Hassel bent down on one knee, devoutly kissed the princess's hand, and apologized from the bottom of his heart for the unexpected visit, realizing that it was somewhat impolite. From such a gesture of Hassel, Atresia even forgot what she wanted to do. The lord realized that he had better leave, but before that, he noted that if the princess needed help, then she knew where to find him. Atresia noticed a rattle on the table and gave it to her daughter. However, Rustina was not delighted with the toy. But the princess tried to convince the child not to be so cranky and at least try to play. Atresia did not notice how quickly time passed, and the day of the banquet had already arrived. The maid remarked that the princess looked simply incredible and noted that luxurious outfits had also been prepared for Rustina. The princess emphasized that the father worked hard to choose an outfit for his granddaughter. She assumed that her little one would be in a chic outfit and impress everyone with an elegant look. There is not much time left before the banquet, but for some reason Atresia is still feeling excited. The princess is sure it's because she didn't get a letter from Killian. Since the man has a rather fiery character, it is difficult for her to imagine what Killian can create. Also, today is the day that Atresia will be officially announced as a member of the family. At the same time, her main goal is to find Rustina's father. Atresia doesn't care what people think about her, because after all, it's not her body and not her life. The princess shared that her grandfather had chosen an outfit for Rustina and hoped that her daughter would like it. The crowd held their breath as Princesses Atresia and Rustina descended the stairs with His Highness. His Highness gathered everyone here to present his granddaughter to the whole nation. He stated that if a biological father is found, he will be ready to accept him, but his throne will go only to the daughter of Atresia. This quite surprised the princess. She planned to leave as soon as she found the father of the child. But from now on, her plans have changed a little. After this news, everyone began to congratulate Princess Atresia. However, this did not please the princess herself. After all, if the heir to the throne becomes a villain, then in the future it can create a lot of problems. Perhaps there could even be a coup. The girl openly announced to her father that she did not aspire to become an empress. His Highness was surprised and asked why. Atresia noted that he was not alarmed by her plans for the future. His Highness thought that Atresia had already finished her business, so he inquired what she planned to do. The princess said that as soon as she found the father of the child, she was going to leave. Suddenly, Rustina shouted the word "Ma," and thus broke everyone from the conversation. Atresia asked her father if he had heard the same thing as her. The princess was shocked and said that Rustina called her mother. His Highness was glad that his granddaughter was all his. She was just as smart. The environment began to admire that Mrs. Rustina said the first words and even spoke at such a young age. Atresia noticed that everyone in the banquet hall was enchanted by Rustina. She could not even imagine something like that. It seems that every day she becomes more and more attached to this place. His Highness announced a week-long festival in order to let the common people know about this event. Atresia realized that her father was unstoppable, so she had to look further. Killian Delphorian suddenly came to the banquet. He noted that Atresia's letter sounded more like a threat than an invitation. And therefore, if he had known, he would not have come empty-handed, but would have prepared a gift. Atresia noted that she could sense his dislike a kilometer away and asked why Killian had finally come. The man replied that he was nearby and decided to take a look. Killian handed the gift to the princess and noticed that the girl in her hands was hostile, as if she was going to bite him. And so it happened. Rustina clung to the guest's hand with all her might. The man assumed that the princess wanted him to leave without even knowing what he had given her. Atresia noted that even without knowing, she was sure she would like it. Father intervened in the conversation. He was not happy to see Killian and said that if the guest does not want to declare war on the imperial family, then it is better for him to return to his place. Killian did not even remember that the emperor himself was present at the event. However, he has one question to which he is very eager to hear the answer. Killian wondered why the family had been hiding the child all this time. Atresia decided not to drag the cat by the tail and immediately answered that she did not know who the biological father of this child was. Atresia looked at the faces of all 4 applicants and understood that she was hooked. If His Highness guesses that the father is one of these, then the princess will not be able to save herself. Suddenly, Rustina began to break out of Atresia's hands and call someone father. All 4 of them were startled and were interested in which of them all the girl had in mind. But this spectacle was interrupted by His Highness. The princess awkwardly turned to her father. She put Rustina in his hands so that they could continue the feast, and she herself needed to leave for a while. His Highness promised to speak when she returned. Atresia turned to Rustina's potential parents and asked them to follow her, but she warned that if any of them utters a word, it will be the end of them all. The suitors asked the princess what she meant earlier. Atrisha repeated that she did not know who the father of her child was. It was still unclear to Louis why the princess decided to bring them all together. Atrisha added that she believed that one of them was the father. On the one hand, Hassel intervened, noting that it was all his fault. Damon, on the other hand, said he was ready to take on the responsibility. Killian turned out to be smarter and more patient. He said that when Rustina turns 2 years old, they will all be able to find out the truth. Atrisha confirmed that she had gathered everyone to tell about it. The princess once again repeated that in 2 years they would learn the truth, and now she needed to leave, because Rustina was waiting for her. Hassel was called to escort the princess. Atrisha confidently stated that the Lord should not do this. But at the same time, she was fascinated by Hassel's gaze. He looked at the princess again with his puppy eyes. The princess was about to leave when she noticed that all 4 men were going to follow her. She noted that one would be enough. Damon said that he himself needed to go to the banquet hall. Atrisha noted that men can do whatever they want. However, she was worried that they would not run into Rustina. The princess is sure that her daughter is in her room because it was late. Atrisha was right. Rustina was sleeping in the cradle. Bell warned the lady that His Highness was waiting for her in his office. The princess asked to convey that she needed to collect her thoughts, so she would find out later. Bell assured her that if Atrisha did not come now, her father would come to her himself. The princess did not understand why there was such a hurry, because her father had already come here himself. But he was very sorry to learn his daughter's excuse. His Highness was outraged by Atrisha's frivolity. He could hardly believe that his daughter was dating these idiots. After all, this is an abnormal matter. The princess asked how long she had been out of the palace. The father replied that she had been gone for about 2 weeks. She didn't leave the castle that often. His Highness himself learned about it recently. Atrisha was very anxious to understand who she was meeting with that day. The princess begged her father, which made him worry. He was glad she understood that. Father reminded that tomorrow there will be a meeting in the palace, so Atrisha must be present there. His Highness plans to introduce Rustina. Moreover, it has been a long time since the princess herself appeared in social circles. Atrisha agreed and assured that she would prepare for tomorrow. Everyone was happy to meet the princess. They were honored to meet her. Moreover, the company admired Rustina. They regretted that Atrisha had left the banquet hall so early. The princess noticed from the way one of the ladies spoke that she was very interested to know what happened yesterday. But since they were not so close to Atrisha, the girl could not understand what this theater was for. Princess Sian asked if Atrisha had found Rustina's father. Atrisha noted that she had no idea what answer would satisfy her. The princess assumed that her interlocutor was genuinely interested, but could not fathom why. Miss Sian added that she had prepared a gift for the hostess of the event that would be beneficial for her health. Atrisha wondered why the guest was licking her like that, but at the same time she was pleased. The princess asked Atrisha to accept the gift and leave her brother instead. Hassel is her own brother, and therefore the girl hoped that Atrisha would make sure that he was released. Atrisha wondered if they really looked alike, blonde hair and purple eyes. However, she couldn't understand why she hadn't noticed it before. The princess was glad that Sian came to her with such a request, because usually villains do this. Atrisha assured Sian that she was not interested in Hassel. For her, he is just a toy that she played with and threw away. In fact, she is more interested in the girl than her brother. The princess added that Sian is prettier, smarter, more self-confident. Moreover, it is more comfortable for her to communicate with her. Sian would be much better suited to the role of the head of the duchy compared to the weak Hassel. Sian was not even afraid to express her opinion to Atrisha, and therefore she seemed more interesting to the princess. Atrisha assured the guest that she had nothing to worry about. All she had to do was keep an eye on Hassel. After all, it doesn't matter to Atrisha in the end who will become her husband. Rustina began to whimper and beg for Princess Sian's hand. Atrisha noticed that her daughter also knew who she needed to be friends with. Sian noted that she had just fallen under Rustina's spell. Atrisha was proud that the guest could not take his eyes off her daughter. She decided that it would be better to join the ranks of friends than enemies. Atrisha is very tired, but there are many more such events ahead. How she wanted this to be the only and last meeting. The princess noticed that something was wrong. It seemed to Atrisha that this jerk Killian had decided to play a trick on her. She felt some strange energy coming from Rustina's room. The girl went inside and noticed Killian. The man said that he had waited for Atresia. The princess indignantly asked why he was in Rustina's room. Rather, he behaves as if he is the most important person here. Atresia asked where the nanny had gone. The princess looked around and noticed that the nanny and the maid were sitting on the sofa unconscious. Killian assured them that everything was fine and they were just sleeping. Atresia thought he had gone to the magic tower, so she wondered why Killian was still here. He explained that it was not his choice, and Atresia assumed that Rustina called him. It seems that thanks to the mark on her arm, the girl can summon Killian when she is in danger or just wants to see. And the man could not get into the castle in any other way. Atresia was horrified at the thought that Rustina might be in danger. Killian assured her that no one would dare touch her. The reason people fear a magician is because he uses black magic. This magic is forbidden, but this did not stop the man. He chose this path because black magic has a great power that attracts him, despite the danger. Atresia asked Killian not to scare her like that again. She assumed that Rustina had called her husband here. Killian confirmed, but still he was glad to see her. The man asked Atresia to follow him, because it would be embarrassing if they were noticed from outside. The princess said that she didn't care, and that Killian should leave soon before they woke up Rustina. Killian assumed the princess just wanted to invite him into her room. Atresia stated that it was not what he thought. Killian asked with a mischievous smile to share guesses about his thoughts. Killian added that Atresia should not be so nervous, because he had noticed a long time ago that she was acting quite strangely. The princess awkwardly asked why he thought so. The man noticed that Atresia pretended not to know him, despite the fact that they kissed so passionately, and he left several marks on her. But she acts as if all this did not happen, or she does not remember. The girl realized that she needed to pull herself together, because it is unlikely that Atresia pushed him away from the confusion. She pressed Killian and asked him if he wanted to do it again. Atresia noted that it would be better to refresh her memory. With such a charming young man, she thought that a few days in this room might be very successful. But let's also not forget that this is Killian Delphorian, whose vigilance is not so easy to let down. Atresia advised her husband not to annoy her because she was already tired. Killian wondered if this was related to Rustina's search for her father, or if she just wanted to see him more often. Atresia replied that he had the imagination. The princess herself pondered who would eventually turn out to be Rustina's father. She wanted to know him as soon as possible, because only then would she be able to relax. Atresia is not sure that she will be able to become a good mother for a girl. She wondered if she was doing the right thing by staying with her, or if she should go back to her world. Although even if she finds a way, her body is long dead. She has no choice but to go to heaven or hell. The magician, observing how worried Atresia was, decided to tell her something. He felt that a strange and very familiar energy was coming from Rustina. Killian hugged Atresia and kissed her on the cheek, then said that next time it would be lips. This quite shocked the princess that she could not find words. There were several days left before the banquet, and the princess and the child had to appear in public, so they both looked tortured. Atresia thought the baby would be fussy, but it never cried. The princess assured her daughter not to worry, because everything was fine with her mother, and she was just a little hungry. Atresia understood that children are very intelligent. They are able to notice the slightest changes in their mental state. On the way of the princess, the count of the Dvor estate, Sorman, happened. Atresia immediately noticed that he looked like a freak. She is used to being surrounded by only handsome men. The count apologized for not introducing himself right away, because he was so happy to meet him that he completely forgot. Atresia did not start a ceremony with him, calling him Sorber, asked him to go away. The man awkwardly corrected the princess, but she didn't care, because Rustina didn't like the count and blocked their path. And so Atresia said to leave them both alone. Sorber grabbed the hand of the princess and said that if she continues in the same spirit, she will have big problems. The count had a conversation with Atresia, and he wanted her to listen to him. The princess sternly replied that the man would let her go. However, he assured that he could not do this, because this is the only chance to talk to her. The girl reasoned that because of her recent popularity, Princess Atresia had problems. She wondered how, with her reputation as a villain, she manages to get into such situations. Atresia looked at Rustina and understood that it was better for the child not to see what she was going to do. And so the girl lowered the hood of the cart, after which she hit Count Sorber with all her might. Atresia warned the count that she would call security if he did not leave on his own, as she was not one to be patient. The princess noticed that the man couldn't even fight, but still took the child in her arms to keep her safe. Sorber was angry. If the princess is beautiful, then he believes that everyone should obey her. Indignant, he pulled out a dagger and threatened. He had waited so many days, and Atresia had ruined everything. The princess suddenly covered Rustina with herself and closed her eyes, and when she opened them, she saw Hassel and the count lying unconscious in front of her. The knight added that there were no serious wounds. Hassel assumed that the princess was frightened and asked if she was all right. Atresia replied that everything was fine because the knight was not her bodyguard and asked him to be careful in the future. Atresia invited Hassel to meet after some time. She was worried that someone was targeting her, so she decided to be more careful. The princess does not want all her plans to be ruined. Hassel was worried that Rustina was not hurt, but Atresia reassured him that thanks to him they were safe. However, something still bothered the child. Atresia wanted Rustina to grow up and see only good things in her life, like a handsome man like Sir Hassel. The knight assured that he would deal with the count himself. The princess noted that in the imperial family, protection wanted the best, and therefore she vouched for Hassel and thanked him. The knight replied that it was his direct duty. At that moment, Rustina bit Atresia's finger. The princess assumed that the girl was trying to say something, but she couldn't. His Highness and the rest of the court heard what had happened, so they were quite worried. Atresia just couldn't understand who was the target of the attack, her or Rustina. The father assured the princess that they had increased security. Today is the last day of the banquet, so he hopes that in the future everything will pass without force majeure. Atresia asked her father how the others reacted to it. His Highness noted that there was a little commotion due to the threat, but nothing serious was happening. The princess remarked that she should be rewarded for helping Knight Hassel. However, the father replied that he had already offered Hassel, but he refused. Because, he said, Count Sorman was already lying unconscious when he arrived. Atresia realized that something was not right. If it wasn't Hassel who neutralized Sorman, someone else did. The father said that there is no need to worry, because he will take care of everything. Atresia hopes His Highness hasn't summoned all the knights. However, the father did so, but the initiative came from Hassel himself. Atresia understood everything, how he did it, and wanted to meet and talk with him personally. His Highness asked not to do this, and to rest first. But Atresia did not want to listen to him, because she cannot rest with a calm soul, considering that Rustina almost got hurt. Atresia's father remarked that she had really grown up. He thought about it and eventually let her go. The princess added that His Highness should also rest. Atresia entered the night training center. She noticed that despite his cute face, Hassel can also be quite strict. In a moment, a terrified Belle came running after the princess. She reported that there was a giant pink creature in Rustina's room, and then Atresia immediately understood everything. The princess entered the room and saw the girl playing with the dragon. Atresia asked what was going on, thus startling the child. The girl assumed that Louie tried to use the magic of the pink dragon to lure Rustina, because for him, she is easy prey. The princess ordered the dragon to stop this masquerade and take human form. Louis explained that he had come to keep one eye on the boy, but had to stay because Rustina liked him very much. As the girl continued to cry, Louis returned to his dragon form. Atresia asked irritably why he had entered this room in the first place, to which the dragon replied that he wanted to give something to the princess. Louis placed the mysterious item on the bed and said if Atresia liked it, he would bring more. The dragon said goodbye to his only daughter and flew away through the window. But before that, he promised to return. Atresia, unable to hold back her anger, replied that no one had asked him for this. Looking at Louis' trail, she noticed that the dragon was very arbitrary. Atresia was admiring Rustina, and the way the little one was enjoying the treat that Louis had left for her. At first, the girl did not understand what kind of gift it really was, until later she realized that it was a dragon scale. As predicted, in 7 months the interaction with Rustina became much easier for Atresia. She has only 2 years left to find out who the girl's father is. And the closer this event is, the more often she is visited by strange thoughts. Suddenly, Rustina pulled the princess away. The girl suddenly stood up on her own. Atresia shared her joy with Belle, who in her turn wanted to tell His Highness about this event as soon as possible. Atresia told the maid to even call her father to see for himself. Every time Atresia looked at Rustina, she seemed to forget everything in the world. Sometimes she really feels like a mother. The girl began to consider Rustina her daughter. His Highness ran into the room with mad speed to his granddaughter. When he saw that Rustina was standing, he could not contain his joy. In honor of this, he promised to buy her a present. The emperor was so happy that he wanted to give Rustina everything she wanted, whether it was a palace or the whole country. And then he remembered that his grandson did not have a knight, so he planned to choose the best one for her. At this time, Damon wanted to see Atricia and ordered his assistant to prepare clothes for him. The aide was worried about His Highness's condition, so he advised him to rest first. Prince Damon is indignant because he does not want to appear weak. The aide changed the subject, noting that something had caused a great stir in the Thracian Empire. Damon decided to find out what it was all about. The prince was in such a hurry that he forgot to put on his shirt. Atricia was just resting in her room when she saw Damon in the window. She was surprised that he showed up at such a late hour. The man said that he had heard that something had happened in the empire during the day, and that is why he had come to it. Atricia wondered if Damon had come just for the occasion. He replied that not only because of this. Atricia noted that she didn't take Damon's word for it, because he didn't even put on a shirt in such a hurry. And that's why she gave him clothes, so that he could at least put something on himself. The prince was pleased with Atricia's attention, because it was the first time he had received anything from her. The girl was confused by such a statement. She did not expect Damon to be so considerate. Atricia asked if he had come to see Rustina. The princess remarked that if Damon appeared in this form again, her daughter would not even look at him, because Rustina likes neat people. Atricia asked to be quieter, because the baby was already asleep. Damon was always interested in the issue of the security of the empire. It seemed to him that its protection was weak. Atricia emphasized that there will always be such idiots who will try to find loopholes. The prince noted that in any case it should be dealt with. He heard some of the guards pass by and gestured for Atricia to be quiet. The girl noticed how they were too close to each other. The men talked about Rustina and did not see paradise for her. And then she realized that this was her estate, and she could not hide as a thief. Damon was glad he was finally alone with Atricia. The girl was embarrassed that Damon started talking so confidently that she didn't even have anything to say. She offered to go to Rustina's room so as not to stand like that in the corridor. Atricia and Damon watched their daughter with rapt attention. The girl noticed how quickly Rustina was growing, but she would always be small for the prince. Only 7 months, and she has already started talking and standing. Damon shared that he wanted to do something before Rustina grew up. Atricia asked the prince not to think about not doing this. Ivan Damon returned to his kingdom of Sormando. The prince angrily threw the document in the face of his assistant, ordering to deal with it. Damon himself dreamed of rest and ordered not to disturb him. Damon also ordered to find out if a bachelor might show up. The assistant asked to explain to him what kind of document it was, since he did not understand anything. The prince declared that Atricia had given birth to a child. Damon doesn't want to think that it could be his, because he and Atricia only had one time. The aide noted that the details were not worth mentioning. He asked when the prince met Atricia. The prince lied that he did not remember. Although he will never be able to forget the moment he first met Atricia. The child is already 7 months old, so it will soon be possible to conduct a paternity test. But the most important thing was the upcoming battle with the Principality of Rosenta. Damon had an assistant monitor the preparations. He needs to quickly deal with the enemies who constantly want to encroach on his land. Only after all this will the prince have more time, which he will need if he turns out to be Rustina's biological father. Damon considered even playing a wedding in the future. A few months passed very quickly, but Atricia was still dealing with the internal affairs of the empire. She complained to Vera about her father, as if he wanted his daughter to pass out from overwork. Instead, the assistant assured that His Highness did not want this, and that she did not have so much work, because he himself usually does the same. Atricia noticed that the assistant did not know how to lie at all. Sir Ver smiled and asked for patience. He also reported that a genetic testing kit had arrived for the princess. Atricia was happy that she would finally be able to find Rustina's father. The princess asked where the regent was made. Ver stunned Atricia with the answer, which turns out to be made in a magical tower. The girl immediately remembered the head of the tower, who is a potential father. Atricia reflected that this should not be a problem at all in the future. After all, It is unlikely that Killian personally participated in the creation of that tool. The princess does not think that he is so eager to become a father that he would do such a mean thing. The princess decided not to share her thoughts with Dvor. She told him to simply take the emulsion to a safe place. Atrisha also asked him if she still had much work to do and when it would be finished. Sir Dvor dared to upset the princess by saying that the work would be with her for the rest of her life. Only Atrisha collapsed exhausted on the sofa when the maid announced with a trembling voice that the princess had a guest. Atrisha was a little annoyed when she saw that it was Killian. The man explained that he was nearby and decided to stop by. The princess noticed that he hadn't changed a bit, just as impudent as he was. Atrisha pointed Killian to the door and asked him to leave. At that moment, Rustina burst into tears, and Killian emphasized that the girl was as naughty as he was. Atrisha doesn't think these are good traits. Killian added that only when you look at Rustina's red eyes, you can immediately understand that she is his daughter. Atrisha is convinced that he is a fantasist. The girl wanted to know if the genetic kit was really made in the magic tower. Killian was surprised that the princess thought he could do something with the emulsion. Atrisha didn't even doubt it, because Killian didn't do that. Rustina began to call her mother nervously. Atrisha reassured her daughter, saying that the strange man was already leaving. Killian decided to listen to the princess and said goodbye. Days and months have passed. Rustina has grown up and is already running and jumping. The girl is already 1 year and 8 months old, so there is quite a bit left before the genetic test. Belle reminded the princess that she needed to start preparing for the tea party. She put her hand on the dress and indicated that Atrizia should measure them all. The princess said that Rustina would also go to the tea party. Belle mentioned that the salon is looking forward to Rustina also trying on outfits and trying them on at least once. Atrisha was happy that her daughter was so popular. The princess noted that in such a case, it is better to let Rustina take care of her, not her. Ladies of society admired how the girl had already grown up. Atrisha reminded her daughter to say hello to the young ladies. Rustina stepped forward and bowed in a cute dress. Princess Sian assumed that Atrisha was not taking a step away from her daughter. Atrisha believes that this is what every mother should do for her child. The princess shared what she had heard about Count Berteman's rising popularity in social circles. One of the young ladies was surprised, because she did not know that Atrisha was interested in the count. Sian snidely remarked that there was no man in this world who would not be interested in Princess Atrisha. These words caused such an uncomfortable silence that everyone felt it. Atrisha made no reply to this reproach. She realized that her reputation is still not one of the best. This embarrassed silence broke Rustina's downfall. Everyone turned their attention to the girl. Atrisha did not understand what had happened. It seemed to her that Rustina herself was surprised that she spoke when she fell. The princess remembered that the nanny shared that Rustina was developing much faster than her peers. Atrisha suggested that her daughter might be a genius, and yet she decided to answer Princess Sian's reproach. She said that the interest of men has long passed. Now she only thinks about Rustina. The princess thought about who Rustina could marry. The first thing that came to mind was Killian, because he was so strong at a young age that he mastered black magic. Then she thought of Damon, who could conquer any land with incredible ingenuity. Or it could be Louie, who has been born with the magical powers of a dragon. The last person Atrisha thought of was Hassel. He was intelligent from a young age, trained to become a worthy head of the family. Given the fact that Rustina spoke at such a young age, one of the young ladies asked for advice from the nanny who took care of the girl. After all, she had a younger brother who has certain developmental problems. Atrisha didn't admit that Rustina didn't really have an etiquette teacher, but that didn't stop her from being so wonderful. Rustina told her mother that she would not cry the next time she fell. The princess watched her daughter with delight, feeling proud. The little one has grown so much that she already knows how to speak, and this brought her great joy. After these events, Rustina fell asleep right at the tea party, so Atrisha had to return home with her. Atrisha never understood how Sian ended up in the same carriage with them. Moreover, Sian calmly took Rustina in her arms. Atrisha wanted to take her daughter away, saying that she had grown up and it would probably be difficult for the princess to hold her. Sian assured her that the girl was light as a feather, and besides, she didn't want to wake her up. Atrisha asked the princess why she was going with them to the palace. Sian replied that she wanted to meet His Highness. This puzzled Atrisha quite a bit, because she was worried that the princess would tell her father something about Hassel. The lady reassured Atricia that the purpose of the visit had nothing to do with her brother. Atricia breathed a sigh of relief and replied that she had even thought about it. She also asked if she had offended Sian. The princess resolutely replied that, by no means. Then Atricia simply wished the guests a good time. Atricia tried to find a babysitter, or at least Belle, but ran into Hassel instead. The man was happy to see the princess with Rustina and did not expect that Atricia took her daughter with her to tea. Atricia asked the count to look after the child while she looked for Belle herself. Hassel was surprised that the princess trusted him with Rustina. Atricia cannot leave the girl alone in the room. She assured that she would be back soon. Hassel wouldn't even blink an eye. Atricia asked her daughter to behave politely. Before leaving, she asked Hassel if he knew what she had done to offend Sian. Hassel asked, puzzled, if something had happened between them. Atricia protested alarmedly and ran off to do business. The count invited Rustina to go to the room. The girl fussily said to let her go because she can go on her own. Hassel awkwardly watched Rustina, who in her turn impatiently asked why he was looking like that. The man was quite impressed by Rustina's clear and consistent pronunciation. The girl asked Hassel if he was her father. He stated that he did not know, but he would very much like to be one. Rustina continued to ask whether he loved her mother. Hassel did not hesitate to give a positive answer. After that, the girl asked if he loved her. Hassel, not hiding his surprise, answered that yes, but the girl did not like the way he said it, so she began to accuse the man of lying. The count tried to correct the situation, but Rustina did not even want to listen to him. The girl was fussy and shouted that she didn't like Hassel. Hassel asked the girl what he had done wrong and asked that it was not there to forgive him for everything so that she would not cry. Rustina shouted that the man was bad and kicked him out of the room. The count went to the door and said that he would stand there and not approach her again. Rustina took a cup from the table and knocked it over, which quite horrified Hassel. At this time, Atricia was standing by her father's door and tried to overhear his conversation with Sian. However, she could not hear anything because of the high sound insulation. Then she realized that she would have to ask her father directly. The princess only made out a few sentences that stated that the conversation would be between His Highness and Sian. Atricia hoped that the conversation did not touch on serious topics worth worrying about. Atricia knew that Commander Hassel was one of her father's favorites. He is brave on the battlefield, and his reputation is at the highest level. The man will not even offend a fly and treats Rustina well. The princess considered him an ideal husband, and even more so, an excellent candidate for the role of a father. 4 months ago, she decided that Rustina would spend some time with each of the candidates. Atricia thought that as soon as it was all over, this world would reject her, and she could leave. From the very beginning, her main goal was to find Rustina's father. This is the only thing she can give her daughter. Returning back to Hassel and Rustina, the princess noticed the disarray. She asked Belle what happened while she was gone. The maid admitted that she came after everything happened. Atricia thought that Hassel had dropped a cup on Rusty, and the girl was almost injured. She told the man that he could go, but that they would have to talk alone later. Hassel was about to say something, but Atricia cut him off, stating that she didn't want Sian to see it. The princess ordered everyone to leave the room without exception. Atricia asked her daughters if it was true that Hassel had thrown a cup at her. Rustina replied that she did, after which the princess reminded her that, above all, she does not like being lied to. However, this manipulation did not work. Then Atricia decided to play along with the daughter and declared that she could not ignore this incident because Hassel was trying to harm the imperial family. The princess offered to expel the count. Rustina realized that her act could seriously affect Hassel, and therefore she confessed to her mother that she had lied. Atricia wondered why her daughter did that. Rustina said that she does not like Hassel. Although Atricia was sure of the opposite, that is why she left her daughter with him. Whining, Rustina added that she didn't love Hassel and didn't want him to be her dad. Then Atricia understood that the girl simply did not want Hassel to become her father. However, she noted that her daughter can't throw objects every time when something doesn't suit her, because someone might get hurt. Rustina explained that Hassel is very popular and dangerous. But Atricia could not see what these two characteristics had in common. She assumed that her daughter did not want to lose the past connection between them. She realizes that Rustina is smarter than her peers and is progressing quickly. It seems that the girl is trying to arrange the situation in order to spite Hassel. If something like this happens again, and Atricia is not around, then Rustina may be in danger. It is fortunate that Hassel has a calm character, which cannot be said about the rest of the candidates. Rustina hugged her mother and said that she loved her very much. Atricia reciprocated the girl's response. She was amazed at how easily this extraordinary child could express his thoughts. The girl began to realize that she is becoming more and more attached to Rustina, because she herself gave birth to her. If she were in the girl's place, looking at the main characters, she would have behaved the same way. Atricia asked Rustina why she considers Hassel dangerous, but she did not hear an answer. Therefore, I asked the girl to definitely tell about it when she is ready. The princess also reminded her daughter that she should apologize to Hassel. Atricia decided to hide the whole situation today from her father, so as not to raise unnecessary questions. Atricia allowed Belle to come in and clean up the wreckage, then send Rustina safely to her room. After that, the princess finally sat down on the sofa to rest after an unsuccessful day. Atricia could not allow such a thing to happen again, so she told Belle to bring a piece of paper and a quill to write a letter. The girl whistled to summon the bird and was surprised when she succeeded. However, looking closer, Atricia realized that fortune was on her side because the dragon himself flew at the call. Louie noted that dragons were superior to humans in everything. The dragon gently touched Atricia's face and admitted that he was only thinking of her. The princess allowed the man to come in for tea, considering that he had already visited. Louie was quite surprised and offered to drink the wonderful alcohol that he had in his arsenal instead of tea. But Atricia dryly pointed out that he should come in as soon as possible, because standing like that on the balcony is not at all cool for her. The dragon said puzzled that he could not understand the human mind. He held out his hand to Atricia and asked her to help him. At that moment, Belle turned around and found this picture. Atricia informed the maid that there was no need to write a letter anymore, because Louie was already here without him. Instead, she asked another favor of Belle to make tea and bring it to the gazebo. The princess did not know how to start the conversation. She thought about asking what she was like before. She asked Louie how it was that she met him, because he was a dragon and she was human. Louie replied that he did not remember, but he, like the rest of the dragons, hoped that Rustina would eventually turn out to be his daughter. He hasn't told Atricia, but he thinks she noticed a long time ago what a strong body he had. Louie asked the princess if she knew how many dragons wanted to have children. Atricia dryly replied that she did not want to know. However, she wondered what would happen to Rustina if Louie was her father after all. The dragon replied that Atricia would find out as soon as the girl was a little older. He noted that the very existence of dragons was already powerful. Louie crushed the tree to demonstrate just a fraction of its power. Atricia scolded Louie that someone could get hurt because of his prank, so she told him not to do it again. The dragon was saddened by this, because it seemed to him that people were just panickers. The princess decided to make it known that it was also part of the imperial property. Louie offered to plant some trees, but he would have to come back in a few days. Atricia slapped her forehead at the absurdity of the situation, and then said that he shouldn't come back, and it's better that they continue where they left off. Louie said he was sorry. However, the princess did not think that he was saying this sincerely. The dragon added that he didn't know Atricia wanted him to express her feelings so badly. He warned that he was not ready to give himself completely to her. Atricia could not understand what he was thinking and when she had asked him for such a thing. After that, Louie turned into a dragon and demonstratively flew away, leaving the princess in surprise. The nanny noticed that Rustina had woken up and asked if the girl wanted anything. She replied that she wanted to eat, after which the maid went to get food and asked the little lady to wait for her. Rustina noticed a dragon in the window. She was struck by its power. It was time for him to spread his wings, as chaos arose in the garden immediately because of him. The girl thought about how in 2 months she will be 2 years old, and she will find her dad. However, she was not attracted to the idea that her mother would marry one of these idiots. Rustina cannot allow this and her mother to die again. The problem can be solved only by the genetic set, which the girl sought to possess. The girl climbed over the cradle and went to the exit. She wanted to hurry, because if the nanny saw it, she wouldn't be able to open that door next time. Rustina understood that she could not give up, because she ate so well for this reason. She made her way to Atricia's room determinedly, but was dismayed to find the door locked. The girl did not want to give up halfway. Killian prevented the girl from carrying out her plan. He assumed that Rustina missed her mother. Rustina frantically ordered to let her go. However, the man did not listen to her and asked where the nanny had gone. Killian was impressed by how well Rustina spoke. The girl indignantly declared that the black magician should immediately let her go and that it was all because of him. The man laughed because Rustina's words sounded as if she knew who was in front of her. Rustina could not take the genetic kit in front of Killian, so she told him to take it to the room because the nanny will be sad without Tina. The man said that the girl should no longer run away. After a while, Hassel appeared. Killian noticed how excited everyone was for Rustina. Hassel told Killian not to worry anymore as he would escort Tina back to her room. Killian wondered in surprise why Hassel had decided that he should accompany the girl, to which the Count replied that it was a direct order from the princess. Killian noted that he could do it himself. Rustina intervened, saying that she would make it without them. The girl decided to apologize to Hassel for the recent prank. The man replied that he shouldn't apologize, but the next time he does something wrong, Tina should tell him right away. After that, a horrified nanny came running to pick up the girl. Father was not happy about Atricia's decision to summon the dragon. Also, Abby is going crazy because of this situation in the garden. The girl herself feels guilty, but she did not do it on purpose. She noted how boring the main characters of this novel are. Father reminded that very soon it will be possible to conduct a genetic test and asked if Atricia had any guesses. In fact, the girl doesn't even want to guess. She doesn't care who it will be. However, His Highness wants to find Rustina's father so that Atricia can get married sooner. The girl plans to leave this place as soon as possible, but to do this, she must have at least some starting capital. If things continue in the same spirit, the girl may be stuck here forever, and only exhaustion and death await her. Father cannot even imagine what is happening in Atricia's soul. With this in mind, he suggested that she go to a banquet and relax. After all, the princess's favorite masquerade ball will take place very soon. The girl read about this ball in a book and was very anxious to get there. And since this is one of Atricia's favorite activities, she assumes it will be a lot of fun. However, the girl did not really like the outfit. She had the feeling that she was going to advertise her wealth. Belle could not understand what had changed, because the princess was very fond of clothes in this style. The maid enthusiastically shared that everyone was talking about one of the participants of the ball, who, according to rumors, would be wearing a white mask. If Atricia manages to make friends with him, she will be able to meet influential people. The nanny brought Rustina in her arms. The girl made it to Atricia's room herself to say that she had begged Hassel. The nanny wanted to say more about Killian, but Rustina interrupted her. The girl suddenly began rehearsing for Atricia to immediately take off her dress and put on another one that would emphasize her waist. Rustina is sure that in such an outfit her mother will definitely be the star of the ball. As a person with many years of experience reading novels in Atricia, I got the feeling that Rusty is an unusual child. Therefore, she thinks that it is worth listening to the girl's words. The princess asked Belle in which workshop this dress was made. The maid noted that the Dvor Atelier presents new models every time, but they were never able to win the attention of buyers. Atricia decided to choose the dress that Rustina had mentioned. She asked Belle to take care of sewing a product of the same cut, but in a different shade. The princess was very tired. Rustina did not want to let her go even after she fell asleep. Belle said that they had already prepared everything. Atricia was surprised that they were setting off at such a late hour. Then she thought that it should be so, because this event is not for prying eyes. The maid noted that the dress had already been delivered, since the tailor had no other orders, so he managed to sew it quickly. However, Belle is unsure about the outcome. Atricia said she would change the dress and see if it would fit her. Life is given to enjoy it, and she will do everything in her power. One of the representatives of the magic tower was worried that Killian was working too much lately, to which the man replied that he always gives his best. The mage also asked if the head of the tower had indeed passed on the genetic set for the imperial family. However, Killian had to do it, because he himself wonders if he is the father. Killian told the mage not to talk about it in front of others if he didn't want trouble for himself. However, it was difficult to find out whether the lord had serious intentions. It seemed to the mage that Killian really had sincere feelings for the princess. When he voiced it, he realized that he was talking nonsense and took his words back. The girl did not think that she would spend time at the ball alone. She was convinced that Atricia was not one of the sociable people. However, she should concentrate, because there is no white mask yet. One of the guests immediately noticed that there was a newcomer among them and approached Atrisha. The princess shared that she had planned to attend this event for a long time. The stranger interrupted her, noting that they have rules, so the girl should be more careful so that they don't find out her identity. Atrisha stated that rules were made to be broken. This answer satisfied the stranger, so she invited the princess to introduce her to the rest of the guests. Atrisha witnessed how ladies of the world argued among themselves which man was better, in a white mask or in a blue one. A new acquaintance asked if the princess was also interested in the man in the white mask. Atrisha replied that she had only heard that he was to appear. The mysterious girl noted that her interlocutor would not regret coming, because the princess herself was delighted with this place. Atrisha wondered if that girl knew anything about the princess's connection with the white mask. But she had no idea what kind of princess she really is, and what kind of skeletons she has in her closet. Atrisha wondered why this girl didn't recognize her if she knew so much about the princess. She assumed that the princess was no longer so close to the white mask. Upon learning that the mysterious man had arrived, all the ladies ran to meet him. Seeing that Hassel was hiding behind the mask, Atrisha was very impressed. After all, the object of their sighs was none other than the commander of the Knights of the Imperial family, and the chance that the princess would be caught was too great. Atrisha realized that she had better escape as soon as she had enough information. She asked a girl why the white mask was walking here and there, to which she was told that the man was just enjoying walking. It was obvious why Hassel started going to the masquerade ball, because the princess liked to often attend such events. Atrisha would go here every day, but the ball was not held so often. It reached the girl that as soon as the news about the ball appeared, Atrisha dropped everything and immediately went here. She asked strangers if she had been, but she did not know with whom the princess spent her time here. The lady was, of course, most interested, but she was too busy with the ball and not with watching. The girl decided to go home. It seemed to her that she would hardly learn anything more useful. But before leaving, Hassel grabbed her hand. He wondered why the stranger wanted to leave, because the fun was just beginning. Atrisha hoped that the commander did not recognize her. The princess replied that she had a curfew, so she had to leave early. Hassel said that no one would believe her words. He doesn't know why, but he doesn't want the girl to go. Atrisha noticed that the man in the white mask was very strange. A crowd of women was running after him, and he was attached to her. Hassel noted that it was she who drew his attention. The princess, disappointed by the banality of the moment, abruptly withdrew her hand and ran away. In the carriage, she breathed a sigh of relief that no one recognized her. In order not to be recognized, the princess wore a wig and tried to change her voice. The only thing she learned was that the real Atrisha attended the masquerade ball very often. She met Hassel at that event. If the ladies find out that the white mask is the commander of the imperial family, then 100% they will think that he is Rustina's father, and then the princess will be over. This thought alone scares her, but still, Atrisha needs to wait for the test result. Only then will she learn the truth. After the ball, orders at the Dvor Atelier increased tenfold. Now Atrisha's family has become wealthy thanks to Rustina. Belle shared that the atelier wants to create outfits for girls. The princess agreed with a smile to any number of dresses. Rustina dreamed that with the new wealth, the search for her father would stop, because she did not need it. This really surprised Atrisha, because mostly all children at this age need a dad. Atrisha decided that Rustina had the right to know her father. She offered the girl a snack, continuing to think about an important parental issue. But Rustina sadly refused. Then Atrisha remarked that if the girl eats, she can get something tasty for it. After these words, Rustina was almost drooling. Louie, as always unexpectedly, entered the room, holding something in his hands, which was supposed to be another surprise for Rustina. The dragon didn't understand why people cared so much, but he was here so that his child could eat something and become stronger. It was a tradition that existed since ancient times. All dragon offspring had to eat something like this. Atrisha confidently declared that Rustina would not eat it. She explained to him her refusal by the fact that people simply do not eat such things. Louie was repeatedly convinced that people are strange creatures. He added that although he likes Atrisha, he sometimes cannot understand her. And Rustina herself announced that she would not eat the guest. The girl asked the dragon not to stare at her like that. Louie noted that the apple does not fall far from the apple tree, and that Rustina is also fond of sarcasm. After Atrisha eats, Louie would really like to talk to her. Atresia remarked that she saw no point in talking to him, so she asked if she could decline his offer. After that, the princess went for a walk in the garden. Atresia noticed that the weather would be perfect for a picnic, and she thought of something to please herself. Louie showed Rustina an enchanted tree that he had magically transformed. The princess, fascinated by the incredible beauty, admitted that she had never seen such a miracle before. Louie recently turned everything upside down in the garden. Atresia assumed that such changes in his behavior were related to that tree. She wondered when the dragon had time to do it, because her father would be happy. Louis remarked that he did not do this to please His Highness. He is disappointed that Atresia thinks it is an ordinary tree. The princess denied this, because she had long felt the power emanating from him. Atresia asked why the dragon decided to plant the tree in the first place. He replied that now, thanks to this, the princess and her daughter will be safe. Rustina was outraged by such a statement because she believes that she can protect her mother herself. Atresia laughed, noting that Rusty is the main defender of her mother. Hassel suddenly appeared. He was worried about the health of the princess. Atresia suddenly realized that she couldn't stop thinking about that Hassel from the ball. The commander apologized if he smelled of sweat. Louis confirmed irritably and asked the man to get out of his sight. Atresia told the dragon not to exaggerate, and Rustina patted him on the back, asking him to stop. The princess realized that nothing good would come of it if she continued to be between two men, so she suggested that Rustina go back to the room. Louis and Hassel did not expect this and stood looking in surprise at Atricia's trail, and she just wanted to take a walk and breathe in the fresh air, not to witness a performance. After long military campaigns, Damon was finally relieved to have full control over the surrounding lands and to establish a stable sphere of influence among the neighboring states. Damon only has a month, and he is sure that this will be enough for him. The prince's aide said that several people had recently been seen visiting the imperial palace. Damon understood that he should not go there at such a late hour and in such a way, in a torn shirt and covered in blood. The assistant suggested that the prince take a bath, but when the gentleman refused, I wished him a good rest. Damon pondered these words. He understood that he would not be able to fully rest, because only thoughts about Atresia and Rustina were in his head.